I went to live in Chicago in 1962 after having completed a graduate studies for the master's degree at Columbia University with my then husband, who had gotten a professorship at the University of Chicago, thanks to Saul Bellow, who was a great friend and who wanted us there. Naturally, I had to get a job. And somehow or other, I started out with a job that I found editing the papers for applied physics and astrophysics at the University of Chicago. And I had a staff of 12 secretaries working under me to direct. And it was an incredible series of tasks, working with Chinese astrophysicists, having to learn how to understand what they were doing, read their equations, help them present papers that were to be directed to NASA. I was essentially working for the government. I achieved top clearance. Not that there was any reason for me not to have top clearance. I was perfectly straightforward. Young person of my age, coming from South Orange, New Jersey, where I had graduated from Columbia High School, and left on no uncertain terms to go to college. So here I was in Chicago, hanging out with Saul Bellow and his wife Susan Glassman Bellow, whom I had gotten to know in Tivoli, where she would spend weekends when she was teaching at the Dalton School. What was the atmosphere like in my office, or in the series of offices to which I connected? Well, it's like being in a ship. There were no windows to the outside world. Everything was painted gray. Our offices were over the Museum of Science and Industry, and in lunch hours, I could take my time looking at exhibits down there, which had some interest. I made a friend who was doing research in astrophysics, and sometimes we'd get a bite to eat in the cafeteria. Going to work sometimes was a real caution, as the wind was howling. Once I was blown down the steps, black and blue all over. The wind was so powerful it was right there by Lake Michigan. And I got sent home in a taxi, and it took me a couple days to recover. And then I went back to work. Chicago was exciting. I lived in Madison Park, which was a mixed neighborhood. Across the street, my neighbor Dick Gregory, in the same building with me, the editor of the Chicago Defender, the leading black newspaper in America, and his wife, who was the jazz critic. And this couple with their kids became my close friends. And through them, I was connected up with what was happening amongst the black community, in particular some of the leaders. I went to parties there with Dick Gregory and other interesting people. I can remember in their hall they had pictures of the ancestors, some of whom were colonels in the Confederate Army, even higher ups, a mix of black and white, quite common historically. And these two had met while they were undergraduates. He had gone to Wesleyan University, and she had gone to UConn, at the University of Connecticut. They were bright as could be and a whole lot of fun.
What did you actually do for the government? What was the work?
I edited papers and wrote papers
What were the papers about?
Various kinds of strategic operations to be used in the waters off of Alaska.
Could you be more specific?
Not really.
Why?
It was a long time ago.
You can't even remember.
Well, I mean, Jesus Christ, you did it, but you didn't want to keep all that stuff in your head. It was enough to do it
Was it
at
boring?
the time. No, I kind of liked it. It was a challenge. I taught myself some higher mathematics. I read in astrophysics and applied physics so that I was sufficiently informed to be of use. That was the interesting part of it, and then I liked the people. They were very nice. My boss had invented the Sidewinder, which was some kind of weapon used in Alaska or off the coast of Alaska, experimentally. I don't know whatever became of it, but he was famous for that. And I really don't have too much more to say about working as the editor of Applied Physics and Astrophysics. Suffice it to say, I had to also learn something about photography and how to develop images, which I did. I learned that too. But most of all, it was a great time in Chicago for jazz, and Lenny Bruce was very popular, and with Soul and Susan, we went on a number of occasions to hear him perform, and that was very exciting. And I heard Miles Davis, and went to the symphony, and spent a lot of time at the Art Institute, which had a great collection, and I was down there at least twice a week, largely because I could combine it with going to the dentist. I had a wonderful dentist on the 38th floor of the Pittsfield building, and he just was crazy about me, and he had his 2 little dogs and his wife there with him, and he used to have me taste all his different little preparations that he was making. He invented a way of cooking meat that was really original, and he was, a little older gentleman, quite a lot of fun. And not only did I go to see this particular dentist, but everybody in Chicago who was anybody went to see this dentist. And for the McCormicks and people of that ilk, he didn't even bill them. They just sent him a big check once a year to take care of all their needs. And then he charged each according to his means when it came to me. So I had, a fair amount of work done after having had orthodontia as a young person and having been in college and graduate school. So Chicago was fun, and living in Hyde Park was quite special. And I was writing then also. I wrote some short stories.
So you really don't remember at all exactly what kind of exactly what was going on in Alaska or any of these military projects?
Honest to God, it went in one ear and out the other. I did what I had to do, and I did it well. And I was a success, and I got a raise. And that was that. It was not something I was going to go on with for the rest of my life. After that, I left Chicago and moved to London, and then to Paris. And so it was that I was out of the country for 2 years, basically, having a great time, learning better the French language, going to the theater, and seeing Laurence Olivier perform for £1.10, and making friends with some incredible autodidacts, Monty Passes in particular, and his wife Barb, and they used to send me their limousine with driver when they didn't need it, so I could go antiquing down Portobello Road or out to the country. And I can remember we went to the races, and they had a box next to the Queen, and there was the whole royal party right there within view. I'd never been to a horse race before, and I went with Barbara and these other rich friends of hers, and we were paired off with betting partners. I had 25 pounds on me, which was not a great deal of money, but fortunately I won every race and came home having made a profit of about 100 pounds. And I never bet again, but I sure as hell had the most wonderful time at Ascot. Can I stop now?